half and I was being disturbed.
That is by leave of the House.
Half an hour. Give me half an hour.
Honorable members. Honorable members. This is not a debate. That's not part of the debate. You get an hour. You are entitled to an hour. Anything after that is by leave of the House. They have agreed to 15 minutes.
Well, the Minister of Finance say half an hour. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, page 35, the budget statement reveals a plan to further enhance production capacity and ensure greater reliability in service in 2008. And I quote, the government will finalize arrangements to secure approximately 30 megawatts of additional power generating capacity. This should further augment overall capacity in 2008 to 317 kilowatt hours. Madam Speaker, not one single word about the reduced cost of electricity to consumers, the highest electricity rates in the Western Hemisphere. Not one single word. Instead, this government finds itself caught in a bitter internal struggle over the future of electricity generation, which would well and could well cost the Prime Minister his captaincy. And that's why he's behaving so erratic today. Because he knows that this issue of him sending guns up the crabs, guns, policemen with guns, like if the people are terrorists. I'm no great friend of Hadid. I've come here and I've said that when something is wrong, I will say it's wrong. When it's right, it's right. We don't treat people like that. Treat people and send guns. What are they, criminals? What are they going to do, blow up the country? So, Madam Speaker, this bitter internal struggle over the future of electricity generation in this country, it will cost the member for St. John's Rural West his captaincy. Remember these words. Because the majority of his cabinet is prepared to fight him on this issue. And they are fighting him on this issue. The deputy is not with him, the Minister of Finance is not with him, and every other single member is not with him in there. Save and except maybe for the member for St. John's Cities and the member for St. John's Rural North. And Madam Speaker, I don't have the time and I'm not going to get involved in any Lebanese-Syrian warfare or any Chinese versus Hadid or any Shaul versus Hadid. That don't concern me. I'm not getting involved in that. But I would say it would be a great shame, a travesty of justice, Madam Speaker, a national disgrace if this government of black women and black men who ignore sound legal advice and fail to honor the people's interests in this matter. I ask you to do what is right, gentlemen and lady. And I urge you to remember your roots. Remember and return to the love from where you came and what brought you into this house. The advancement of everyday picky-head people. Everyday picky-head people brought you into here. That initially brought them, Madam Speaker, into this honorable house. I don't hear the member for St. John's Rural West ever defending any picky-head man or picky-head woman the way he defended every show today. I've never heard it. Never. He should be ashamed to say he's Prime Minister and to say he come from the ghetto and represent the downtrodden in this country. He's representing special moneyed interests at the people's expense. So I therefore urge the honourable members, and the deputy agrees with me, to return to the love and advancement, Madam Speaker, of everyday people. And while you remember and think about the basics of good government, I wish to take them back quickly, very quickly, to the Stanford Alliance over the Ghana Island, where the Minister of Finance told this honourable house, culminating, he quoted, the fundamentals negotiated, this was back, Madam Speaker, in 2005, the very first budget foundations for Fresh Start. He said, culminating the fundamentals negotiated in Saturday's meeting between the Prime Minister and Mr. Alan Stanford is the acquisition and the government green light for Mr. Stanford's acquisition of Ghana Island and other lands to which Dr. Tan Kehak presumably holds title. The Stanford plan for development of the land package, which is negotiating to acquire from the current title holder, is envisaged as a $3 billion upscale resort that will inject an estimated $2 billion into the Antigua and Barbuda economy in its construction phase. Mr. Stanford has proposed a front-end corporation tax arrangement under which tax concessions will be deferred for 30 years while you pay to the government treasury a monthly flat tax amounting to $34.4 million a year, starting in January 2008, aggregating to more than $1 billion over 30 years. This was a direct quotation from the Minister of Finance back in 2005. What do we have to show today, Madam Speaker, about this alliance with Stanford? What do we have to show with the thunderous applause that was received in this Parliament when the Minister of Finance got up and echoed those words and sentiments? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, Madam Speaker. They cannot blame Stanford. They have no one to blame but themselves. Because given their only known governance skills is to tax and lock up and jail and lock up and jail and tax. They have no vision about economic development. And they've got it all horribly wrong. How to run a government. Victimization and lock up. And I want quickly the member for St. John City East, when he comes to tell us, National Geographic, Madam Speaker, released in its 2007 survey of sustainable destinations, they placed this country in being serious trouble with a score of 50 and a ranking of 96 among 111 island destinations worldwide. 96 among 111 island destinations worldwide. And according to 2007 National Geographic Review, Antigua has a lot to think about, Madam Speaker. And I quote, hotels are generally not energy conscious. The island has a severe problem with disposal of solid waste. Because hotels are mostly foreign owned, the local population only receives lower end wages. The major assets, the beaches, are in danger of overuse and erosion. Because of a notoriously corrupt government, the land is beautiful, but relatively uncontrolled. They have lost touch with much of their heritage. Madam Speaker, this comes from National Geographic, not from me, not from you. What do they have to say about that? And on the service of debt, Madam Speaker, the government central debt stood at the end of September 2007 at $2.6 billion. Why don't they go, Madam Speaker, and invest in an incinerator down at Cook's Dump or in a sewage system in St. John's? Rather than spending all that money on those beautiful sidewalks, why don't you go and get a sewage system for the city of St. John's before you build the sidewalk? Of course, you will do that specially for me, man. You and me a friend. Oh, with Baldwin. With all the debt forgiveness, Madam Speaker, which this government claimed to have successfully negotiated, and the millions of dollars successfully negotiated, we would have expected the $2 billion. The debt should have been at least $2 billion, not $2.6 billion, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we heard about the $500 million write-off to the Italians, the $50 million debt to DEFCON, and some write-off of $50 million to Alan Stanford. We have been hearing about remarkable success of government treasury bills and bonds, through which hundreds of millions of dollars have been raised to retire high-end debts. We have revenue like we have never had before. We're paying off debts like we have never seen before. And yet, Madam Speaker, with over $600 million in write-offs, including Italian debt, the debt that the UPP found at $2.8 billion is still more than $2.6 billion. Well, you tell me. Tell me what great job these guys have done. Tell me what great job they've done. Then the Italian debt. In 2004, Madam Speaker, the Finance Minister announced he successfully negotiated $500 million debt relief from the Italians. We were told that this payment would be made in two equal amounts. $25 million in the 1st of December 2004, then the second tranche in December 2005. But, Madam Speaker, the debt settlement agreement signed by the Italians, and I have it right here, the debt settlement agreement signed by the Italians with Sachet, it calls for a final payment of $38.7 million. This amount accounted for in the estimates as debt service expenditure of approximately $19.35 million for each of the relevant years. So where is the difference of the $11.3 million, Mr. Minister? It was not requested. Where is this $11.3 million that you have? Look, page 78 of the estimates in the appendices. Rescheduling of US dollar portion of debt. Look at page 78. $11.3 million. Where does that come from? I want an explanation when the minister winds up. Was this paid to a consultant? Was this part of the $30 million paid to consultancies? Who received it?